Yes, we are live. What's going on? How we doing today? Hope everyone's doing well. Let me know if the volume needs to be adjusted or anything like that. Like I said in the last stream and on the YouTube video, the music, the instrumentals are courtesy of my good friend Homage Beats. I'll try to link. I could link his Apple Music, his YouTube. I'll try to come up with a command so you can just do !homage and his stuff pulls up. Let me pull it up right now because I want him to get some love. He makes awesome music. So I'm gonna pull that up first real quick. Click that link, follow him, subscribe, all that stuff. He's a good dude, makes some cool music, some nice laid back beats, and all that. So today we're going to talk about red zone defense, specifically Tampa red zone, and how we teach Tampa red zone is we teach it in like it's you're in relation to your coverage. So you're going to, for lack of a better term, it's kind of like 7 across. We're gonna have four players in the rush, and then we're gonna have 7 guys across. And what I mean by that is we want to have a guy outside of a receiver and a guy inside leverage on the receiver. So it should always be defensive player, offensive player, defensive player, offensive player, defensive player, and so on. And it works a little bit like in the run game, how gaps work, right? You always want to have a defender in between an offender. You don't want 2 defensive guys in one gap, and you don't want 2 offensive guys in one gap because then the ball is going to go in that crease. So when we're talking Tampa, that's just what we call it because it correlates to Tampa in the field. But when the field space gets shorter, no, it's all good. You're right on time. You're right on time. When the field space gets shorter, then it has to work more 7 across, and we'll see that when we're going to watch the tape. And the cut up that we're going to watch today is it's going to start from high and move down into the low red zone. So the first play is going to be on the 14-yard line because when I'm calling plays, the 14 is when I'm going to start calling, like tagging things red zone. Because even though the 20-yard line is the red zone, teams will still run. Hey, I see you, Zay, with the sub. Come on now. The 20-yard line is really where they're going to, or is they're still going to run their normal offense. So we're still going to run our normal defense. And the reason that we start calling red zone, like in the 14 plus or the 14 in, is because that's kind of when we start to see different type of concepts. We see more China concepts, more 3 to the corner of the end zone, and like your indie concepts, your bench concepts, however you want to talk, however you want to call it. It's 1 and 2 on the under and 3 run the 7 cut. Big red zone concept. You'll see like stick nod, where the tight end's gonna run a little nod route, a little out and up type thing. Usually those come 14 and in, so that's why we call our red zone tags 14 and in, and that's just how we do things. But 20 and in is a red zone, 25 and in, it's when you start to see the different concepts. So we're gonna focus today on the 14 and in. We're gonna focus on Tampa red zone, and how we run it, and we'll talk about it. We'll teach it, and we'll do everything like that. All right. So what I want to do first is, should be able to pull this up right here. All right. Cool. All right, cool. So here we're looking at same thing. Tight wheel is just our set in our front, right? We're gonna have a what we call a 5 technique: head up on the tackle, head up on the nose, head up on the tackle, and then this is our 4th rusher, our wheel. So that's all that tight wheel is saying, is just setting the front, doing all that. And when we're playing Tampa red zone, like I said, the closer down to the red zone, to the end zone that we're getting, the more it's going to be 7 across. And we'll talk about that as we get a little bit closer to the goal line. But here it's really going to work a little bit more like a regular Tampa, because like we said, we're going to start at the 14. So the ball's on the 14-yard line right here. And we have 7 guys in coverage. So when we're saying 7 across, our corners really are going to be outside of 1. Both of these guys are going to be outside of 1. And now our safeties, they're both going to be outside of 2, inside of 1. Same thing. His 2 is in the backfield because this is a 3-by-1 formation. Really a 4-by-1 formation, because the back is right here. So he's responsible for this. Corners are outside. Safeties are in between 1 and 2. He's in between 1 and 2. The nickel, the strong poach player, is in between 2 and 3. He's responsible for right here. Our middle runner is inside of 3. This is our backside poach player. He's really inside of 2, outside of 2, outside of 3. His 2 is in the backfield, so he just needs to relay and push this way to get to one of these guys. In theory, one of these guys should come back towards him, but he's got to relate to a guy on that side of the formation. Because like we talked about earlier, we go 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. All right, it's 5 eligible guys, and it's always going to be 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. This situation, 4 guys are on this side of the ball. We don't teach it as 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just 2 weak is on the opposite side of the ball, who is the running back in this situation. So we'll see what routes concepts we're getting. And the other good thing about this is Bryce, our nickel, his run gap is right here. That's his fit, is off of 3. So he can he doesn't have to carry anybody. He doesn't have any like true man responsibilities. So he can really get in tight to where if it's a run, he's right here, and on the pass, he can just react, take a few steps back, and he's in his zone already. Oops, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. So as we're looking at it, they end up running a stick concept, kind of a star concept, where he's going to end up going vertical. And Tampa rules, the safety has to get to the vertical of 1. And since we still have a lot of vertical grass here, and what we mean by that is the ball's on the 14-yard line, so they have 14 yards plus the end zone, which is another 10, so they have 24 yards of vertical grass. They can still throw that fade ball in and get that ball in. They can get this ball in. Let's see what you said. Demai said, why don't a lot of offenses run 2 backs in the red zone, whether that be 20, 21, or 22 personnel? You can get very creative with a fullback, H-back, or a second running back. UNLV does this a lot. I don't know why teams don't. I know that Kansas has some good stuff with like a fullback, H-back type thing that they do a lot in the red zone. And basically it's to create mismatches. You get 2 backs in the backfield and you can sneak a guy out to the flat real quick. And he might out leverage the backer that has him in coverage. Some teams, it might just be a personnel thing. Like they don't have the formations, they don't have the fullback in their roster, or a running back, like you said. I think it can be utilized well instead of just your typical 11 personnel or 10 personnel. But I think you can create that with formations too. Like I personally on offense like getting tight formations and having people explode out and sitting over the ball and stuff like that, just because you condense to expand. And that's kind of what you're saying with like 2 back formations. A lot of times they're condensed. You're getting more guys into the backfield and stuff like that, and you can slip a guy out and just beat the leverage. But I think that's a good question and a good point. I think I think 2 back stuff and condensed formations in the red zone can be good, especially with how much man teams run in the red zone, which is why we're looking at Tampa, because when we get a little bit closer, we're going to see that how pick routes and crossing routes don't hurt us that much when we're playing Tampa. So we'll get to that a little bit when we get a little bit closer to the red zone or closer to the end zone, where pick routes don't hurt us as much. But here he's going to the flat, he's going vertical, he's curling up, and he's curling up. So really, as this happens, our corner is going to play what we call fade to flat, protect the deep route, and then make them throw the check down and then go tackle the check down. All right. So with that being said, the safety now, he's got to get to 1. All right. And in this picture, Eli needs to get over there a little bit quicker, because right now, if this quarterback didn't feel this pressure, right now he could probably complete this ball. If he rocketed that in, he could complete this ball right here. I think Eli could just be a little bit quicker getting over there. But this is the good thing about Tampa. Now we have a guy playing high to low. He's going to end up having leverage on that running back. Bryce is sitting right here. I think that's Dale is sitting right here on this guy, and Tez is looking for work pushing this way. We're basically doubling the backside X. But we got everybody covered up. Like there's nowhere for the quarterback to throw it. He's got to scramble, ends up checking it down to the running back, which we'll take. If they're going to complete on 2nd and 11 a 3-4 yard pass and it's going to be 3rd and 6 from the 10, hey, we'll take that. We're running Tampa to force checkdowns. And if they check the ball down, all right, cool. Let's play the next snap. That's a win for us. So like we said, this is just our tight front. And with this in NCAA, because I'm sure y'all been playing the 3-3-5 tight nickel defense, that's what this is. I've been running cover 3 match, which is kind of how we run cover 3. Running cover 3 match, cover 6, a little bit of Tampa, and some fire zones, and I've been playing pretty good on defense. But Nas is a B-gap player to contain on pass. Boogie really should push left. He has a 2-way go on the guard and pass, and he's contained. So Nas right here, our 5 tech, he's got a really difficult job because he has to play into the tackle to play B gap on run, but then also when he recognizes pass, he's got a loop to contain. So like in this situation, when this quarterback starts to get out, I think he does perfect here because he's going to be late to contain just based on the call and what his assignment is. He's going to be late to contain. So like I'm not mad at that. I think he does a great job here. He's playing his B gap. Okay, now I recognize pass. Let me get to contain. Let me take a good angle. Force the check down so the quarterback can't buy time, and then throw a touchdown because you can't cover for that long. I think Nas does a really good job right there. We'll take that. I think they called it a completion. Yes, all right. All right, so now same concept. We're playing Tampa red zone. This is a 2x2 formation right here, right? So we're looking at this. Our nickel is going to disguise, but he's playing right there. Our corners are outside of 1. Safeties are disguising, but eventually he needs to be in between 1 and 2. He needs to be in between 1 and 2, who the 2 is right here. He's playing off a 2. He's our middle runner, opening the speed. So like we said, he's in between 2 and 3. 3 is right here in the backfield, so he's right in between 2 and 3. He's in between 1 and 2. He needs to open the speed and then kind of read the routes, feel the routes. I think we're getting a run here, so we're going to look at a few things. Here, like we said on the last picture, Bryce, our nickel, does a really good job right here of disguising. All right, so they can't just, he's not lining up here, so they can't just throw this RPO bubble. They can't throw a little RPO hitch. He's disguising pre-snap, but he also knows that I'm a C-gap player. To where if he was lined up right here on the snap, they might throw this bubble, although Keith would probably knock this receiver off, which we've seen, and him make tackles in the backfield. They have the numbers advantage to where if this guy did his job and blocked him, complete the bubble, and then it's a one-on-one with Tarp. But Bryce does a really good job of disguising, knowing his responsibility on the snap, getting in, and then making the, I mean, he doesn't make the play. Nas obviously does here with his playing the B gap, but Bryce is out there in contain, doing his job. Boogie does an outstanding job right here as our nose. He's playing A to A. We said he's B. He's A to A off of Boogie. B, C, contain, corners in the fit, and then Bryce is right here. So we're gapped out. Even in Tampa, we're gapped out with an extra fitter. He's our extra fitter. So as you can see right here, how they do this, they're going to end up doubling Aleve. So Aleve gets into the C gap. That's all right. Tez just makes it right. He gets into the B gap. Boogie wins. Nas wins, allowing run-throughs for these guys. And that's the other thing about guys playing downhill. We see how quick Dale, 45 right here, gets downhill. They can't hold this double. So now they have to get off, and it allows him to go right here. I think there's miscommunication clearly from these two guys because they end up leaving him unblocked because he goes out to go to get Bryce. He comes off here. However, even if he stays on this guy and Reggie goes outside, Bryce will still have he should make his tackle right there if they stay on Nas. We still have an extra guy, kind of, is what I'm saying. But Boogie does a really good job. Dale's playing downhill. Nas makes his play. Don't miss the layups. And Bryce is right there in his fit. So, like, you can stop the run in Tampa. You're still gapped out. You just know that sometimes that guy might be a little late. The middle runner might be a little late. All right, so we're playing in a 2x2 concept here. All right, So this is our weak poach player. He's got to expand a little bit because the tight end right here is expanded. But same thing. Outside of 1, in between 1 and 2, in between 2 and 3. Middle runner right here. He can push back a little bit. He should probably be like right here on the hash because he's right here, here, and here. So that's what we're saying 7 across, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's how we kind of teach Tampa. 7 across on a plane. And the tighter that it gets to the goal line, the more condensed it's going to be and the more 7 across that we're going to see. Because there's not different levels. It's all basically 7 guys across on the field. Is kind of what we're getting at with that. All right, so good. Dale was disguising. He got back to where he needs to be. So it ends up, like we said, 7 across, but now you can kind of see it. It's 5 under, 2 deep. But field spacing wise, it's still 7 across because these guys are really right here in that zone, in that area. But now these things are going to get completed. Like, they know that we run a lot of Tampa red zone. So instead of this guy expanding to the flat and this guy expanding to the flat, they're just going to turn around and sit, and that they're going to complete that ball, which to me is okay. We just got to make our tackle a little bit sooner. All right. I think Keith is a little bit too deep. He's trying to play fade to flat. I think that second little hop right there kind of gets him a little bit too deep. But here, if we make our tackle right there, then it's 2nd and 5 around there, and we live to play another snap. They get a little bit too many yards right there than we would like. But that just kind of goes with, we got to make our tackle. But that's going to be a completion when you're running this defense. And we talked about the other day is he who defends everything defends nothing. So like if you're trying to defend every single thing that you see, you'll end up not defending anything. Nothing's going to stop everything unless you just have guys that are 100% better than your opponents. You're not going to stop everything. But even schemed out, you can't stop everything if your guys are better than their guys. Like, there's going to be weaknesses in your scheme no matter what you're doing. All right, so we're in 2x2 formation again here. Same thing. Oh, it's the same one. It got duplicated. That's interesting. Yeah, it's the same play. Weird. All right. So the other thing is we ran a lot of this coverage. Like, this was like basically the only coverage that we ran in the red zone. So teams started to know that, and you just gotta know where they're gonna attack you. They're going to start to attack this guy. They're going to attack you. They're going to attack your middle runner, like they do here. All right, they're going to try to get a receiver on your middle runner in space, and he just got to know it. Tez needs to take a better angle on this one. They missed this one, but this one should be completed. How we played it, Tez needs to really take a better angle on this one, especially when we get to empty. It needs to work a little bit differently because this is no longer speed over here. So he just needs to open up this way and get underneath that guy. But this is going to be the hardest one. If this ball is thrown like a good ball, especially with this team, because I think that's DeAndre Overton, who's like 6'5". I think that's DeAndre. And if this ball is thrown on target, he's not, like, Tez isn't going to do anything other than potentially push the receiver out before he can get his feet down in bounds. But I mean, shoot, you just got to know where the weaknesses are, and you got to tell these guys on defense, this is where they're going to attack you. And we you can ask Tez, he knows, like, we talked about this all the time. They're gonna attack the middle runner in the back of the end zone. So what you tell him now is use the sideline as a 12th defender. Don't get beat underneath. Don't be too high on that guy. Be in his low hip to now where it has to be a perfect ball to beat you. It has to be a perfect throw. And here, obviously, it didn't get completed, but I mean, shoot, that's a tough coverage for him. But everyone's gonna have problems. Like, that's not a bad ball. He could have probably thrown it a little bit more this way and a little lower, but I mean, shoot. Tez right now, what I would tell him is when he peaks right here, you see that this guy's running. Like, now you just need to turn and run with it and just go own that route. Because he's floating back this way. When that guy's bending towards him, he just needs to turn and flip his hips into him. But that's going to be a weakness. And that's part of the reason that we were able to run so much Tampa is because Tez was our middle runner and he understood it, and he did a really good job of forcing that throw to have to be perfect for the quarterback, because he would have really good positioning. He did a really good job at doing that. So that allowed us to play a lot of Tampa. Which goes back to having smart football players and communicating with your players. What are the strengths and the weaknesses of your calls? That's a big thing. Like, you got to know first as a coach. You need to know where the weaknesses are in the calls that you're calling, the plays that you're calling, and then it's okay for you to know, but you gotta let your players know, because yes, we talk. It's schemed out. Like, it is sound, but there are going to be guys on any given call that have difficult responsibilities. Like, when we're playing Tampa, the corners aren't going to have a difficult responsibility because they don't have to run all over the field. The middle runner, he's going to have potentially a hard job. If we're playing man all day, single high, then the corners are going to have a difficult job because they got to cover that guy all the way around the field. And especially with the rules in today's football, it's easier for the offense. So those corners are going to have a difficult time if it's all man. So you just got to know who's stressed out on defense, who's got the issue, and make sure that guy can do what you're asking him to do. We called a lot of Tampa because we knew that Tez could do his job in what we were asking him to do, if that makes sense. All right, so now this time our middle runner, who is Tez, he bites on this stick nod, which we were talking about. We get lucky here that we get pass rush because that guy is wide open. He is wide ass open right here. We need Tez to take that. He bites on that stick nod. He realizes it now late. You see him flip his hips. He's like, uh-oh, I need to go find somebody. But like what we're saying is, he knew that. He was just being aggressive because he was trying to go bite this stick. He was trying to bite the little quick out route, get a pick, and make a play. He needs to just do his job on this situation and expand. Okay, now he goes vertical. Now let me turn and run with him. But rushing coverage working together. Nas gets a great rush, forces the quarterback to step up in the pocket to where he can't now. I mean, he might see that. He might see this guy right here, but it's going to be hard for him to now stick his foot in the ground, flip his hips, and throw that ball and get the ball there. He tries to throw that one, can't get it accurate because here we're playing a spy defense to now where Nas flushed him, Vaughn goes and makes it to where he can't step up. So rush and coverage working together. The rush won us this snap because the coverage, they were open. But we had a winning rush to where that guy couldn't find it. If Nas doesn't win right here and make the quarterback step up, I mean, that's a touchdown, guaranteed. it looks like he sees it right here, but he also probably now feels Vaughn to where, okay, if I stick my foot in the ground, try to flip my hips, I'm not going to be able to get that throw off. To where now he has to continue running, and see now he's throwing to his left to where he doesn't have to flip his whole hips across his body and throw back inside. I guess what I'm saying is here he doesn't have to put his left foot in the ground and kind of swivel his body back this way to throw that. He can just go the way he's throwing it. I hope that makes sense. Like here he would like to stick his left foot in the ground, get his right foot back and throw back that way, but with Vaughn pressuring him, he can't do that. All right, so this one is really just a guy making a play, because Michigan schemed us on this one. How it really should work is he needs to have vision, seeing because he's our middle runner in this situation. He needs to see 3 going out and really flip his hips and now get under this guy because that's his new 3. And Tarp should take this one. It ends up being this guy's wide ass open and he just makes a good football play. So if the quarterback saw it, he's got a touchdown right here. But like we said, we busted this one and it worked out for us. But what we want is him to go take this one, the safety to take this one, because like we said, we want it to be 7 across, which initially it is outside here. He should be in between 3 and 2. He's got to push this way because it's 4 strong. He's outside of 1. He's right there. And now as it develops a little bit, all right, so now this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, backside 2 and 1. So what we're saying is we want our safety really right here, and we want our poach player right here and our middle runner right here. So we're wrong, but Tarp just knew what they were doing and ends up making a great play. The ball is thrown behind him, and Tarp got tired from doing all his running, but right about here, that's where he gets tired. And you can see another smart football player. He's telling Keith, turn around and go block this guy, because Keith is running looking to probably cut someone off on this side. He tells him, turn around. He ends up getting this block. That's nice. Smart football players. Yeah, I'm not sure what the quarterback is doing because it looks like he's looking over at that wheel and then he comes off of it trying to throw that one and ends up throwing it behind him for whatever reason. That was just a bad decision. Good play by Vaughn right here, keeping his hands up so that he doesn't get a penalty on a crackback block or anything like that. That's a really good smart play. And then we got Olive running. Like that's defense right there. Olive, a big dude, and he running all the way down the field, trying to get a block. All right, so now, like we said, we're starting to get a little bit tighter. This is still pretty high red zone. We're at the 11. This is the other thing. They're going to complete checkdowns. Like we saw, I think, Birmingham earlier. They're going to complete checkdowns. But this is a good picture of how we want things to look. Our corners are outside of 1. Lando does a really good job. I think that's Lando up top of squeezing 1 because he has no work over here. Mark is squeezing a little bit, but he also has this nickel as help. Whereas, let me go back. So we still need to protect this bender from the weak poach player like we talked about a couple days ago in Tampa. So now when this guy squeezes, he needs to squeeze a little bit more because he's going to have more depth, whereas the middle runner is opening to too strong, and our nickel is guaranteed to be here, our strong poach. So when this guy goes under, he can let that go quicker because he's guaranteed to have that guy, whereas this corner needs to squeeze a little bit more because he's not guaranteed to have that poach player. Whereas Ruben has to play a little bit deeper to protect this one. Bryce isn't protecting that because our middle runner's pushing that way, if that makes sense. But like we said, they are going to complete checkdowns in Tampa, and you just got to go and make the tackle, which we do. We're good. Safety does a good job squeezing. Safety does a good job squeezing. Our middle runner's right here. This is exactly how we want it to look. To where, can they complete this pass right here? Like, yeah, they can, but it's gonna have to be a good throw, in time, in rhythm, and hopefully he can react to it, make a PBU or a hit. Hopefully he gets enough depth to where if it's not lofted over the top, he can get a pick, or if it is lofted over the top, it gives Eli time to make a play and a PBU on the ball to where he undercuts it right here, using that 12th defender of the end line. But like we said, they're going to complete checkdowns, just line up, play next snap, try to get them to not complete the ball in the end zone. That's what you're doing when you're playing Tampa red zone. Let's see what we're getting here. All right, so this is a good look at it up top. All right, we're getting 1-2 concept, slant flat. So our corner is going to let one go in to our safety, who's going to trigger on that, and our corner is going to come off on one. So this is what Damani was saying earlier, like a lot of this two back stuff and sneaking guys out of the backfield. If our linebacker was covering this back in man coverage, this would be open and he would just throw it to his upfield shoulder and he would just turn the corner and beat the leverage. Like, he wouldn't be able to tackle it. But here, since we're playing like zone, he's already leveraged. So if he throws that there, Mark's just going to trigger and make his play. Here, they end up kind of locking it. So now where the corner's just going to play on one, the safety's going to drive this guy. The deeper that it is, like the farther away from the end zone that it is, the safety will go take one and the corner will trigger on that guy. But here they kind of locked it to where the corner's taking one, the safety's taking two. You see the poach player is in between 2 and 3. Our middle runner, when 3 sat down, he's going to go push to him. We got a guy inside there, right here, and then he's really our extra guy. He's just kind of in the zone. But we we got everybody covered. Alive does a good job getting to contain, not letting the QB scramble, forcing him to throw because he's barreling down and he's going to hit him if he holds on to the ball any longer. And I think that's what they're talking about right now, of that concept right there, where he went there and he stayed on one. That's a good run from Alive, good run from Vaughn. All right, so now we're getting empty. So same thing. If they're getting empty, two big concepts. You're going to get QB draw or you're going to get stick nod, something like that. Exactly. The eyes on the QB kill scrambles, which is really good when you are facing a running quarterback. because man's going to allow you to have tight coverage. But like I said, this was like our only call that we called in the red zone. So we had a bunch of reps in it, whether that's practice and in games. So like guys understood where they fit, especially as the field started to tighten down. They understood where they fit. And like you said, everyone's got eyes on the QB. So it limits scrambles. But what you're going to get a lot is this right here. They're going to attack the linebacker with the tight end. Get their tall receiver, tall tight end on a linebacker. Try to just throw this ball to the back of the end zone, make it a jump ball like a rebound in basketball. But like we said, Tez knew that. We communicated that with Tez, and he understood it to where he knows that's where they're going to attack. Because right here you can see the 7 across picture pretty well. He's there. He's really in between 1 and 2, leaning to 2. He's underneath 2. He's inside of 3. He's in between 2 and 3. He's in between 1 and 2, and he's outside of 1. So you can really see the 7 across. And as these routes declare vertical, you see the safeties are clamping down on the 2 because the corners have no workout to the flat if 2 is vertical and 2 is vertical. So the corners are going to play it fade to flat. There's nothing taking them to the flat, so they're going to stay on that fade. It almost is kind of like palms-ish, where people are keying to, kind of. All right, so now we're getting 3rd and 10. So 3rd and goal from the 10, playing Tampa again. Same thing, 7 across. They're just running all verticals. What I would say is Dale right here doesn't need to flip his hips. In a perfect world, I would like him to flip back this way, over his left hip instead of his right hip, and not like turn into the guy. But he gets his head back around so quick, I'm not mad. But here you can see a good picture of Eli with 1 and 2 vertical. He now triggers on that one. Same thing here. He triggers on that one. And Mark needs to he needs to get a pick. He was tired here. This was like the first full game he played since college or something like that, like in a long time. But he does a really good job. He needs to come down with that. This is how we want it to look from our corners. Get a nice little reroute. Doesn't have to do a lot, right? Doesn't have to do a lot, but he gets that guy to take, I think that's Johnny Dixon. He's a good dude too. He does just enough to get him to expand and kind of slow down the route to now where he can make that play. Just enough. He needs to make that play though. I think he started cramping right there, though. Yeah. Like I said, this was the first time he had played like a full game in a long time. This was week 1 of 2023. All right, so now we're moving down a little bit. So this is what we were saying with on the strong side, where the corner can drop this under. Bryce needs to squeeze a little bit more with this guy, because when one's going in, he doesn't need to stay out here. He needs to relate to that coverage a little bit more. He needs to stay inside of 1. Crazy thing about this play is this was ruled a catch, fumble, and the quarterback just ended up picking it up. It was really unfortunate, because if the quarterback would have stopped running, then we probably would have picked it up. Just crazy series of events. But here you can kind of see where as this coverage works out, Tampa, it's true zone, but like I've kind of told you guys, I don't love true zone coverage. to where now the weak poach player is playing a little bit deeper because he's going to help us on the bender of 2 weak, and the middle runner is going to help us on the bender of 2 strong. So he becomes like our true underneath defender, where he's kind of like a hybrid underneath defender, if you will. Like how Ruben is trying to stay underneath of this bender and Tez is underneath of this bender. Bryce, our nickel strong poach player, doesn't have to worry about the bender of 2. So he really needs to stay right here underneath this guy, whereas he doesn't have as much help over here. Yeah, so I think it wasn't a catch. It was just, I think it was a completion to Cookus. Like, I think he completed it to himself, because I don't think they called it a completion to Corey, to number 1. I think that it was like a PBU, and the ball never hit the ground. So if the quarterback wasn't there, it would have been an incompletion maybe. I can't really remember. I know they got the ball on the 2-yard line after that. All right, so now the ball's on the 5-yard line. So obviously we're a lot closer to the goal line. So now we're saying it's more 7 across. Ruben can push out just a little bit more, but outside, in between there, he's in between 2 and 3. He's in between 2 and 3. He's in between 1 and 2. Our corner out here is outside of 1, and he's our middle runner opening to speed, relating to 2 and 3. But remember the one where we saw earlier where the back went out to the backfield and he ran the slant, and he came off on that and he drove the slant? That's how we would want this one to work. Here they just switched switched responsibilities to where if we would have done it correctly, Tarp would put his foot in the ground and go drive that, and he would go play underneath that one, and it just kind of gives you a little bit better leverage to where Mark does a really good job of playing this slant and getting a PBU, but he's not always going to do that. He's better leverage to where he can either get a big hit or a pick, because he would be standing right here. And then typically if they're going to throw that one, they're going to throw it flat and away to where this corner would just sink right underneath it and pick it off. But like I said, I would like Tarp to drive that one and him to take this one. It worked out for us, but we don't want it to run like that. All right, so now, as we move a little bit forward, Damani, earlier you said using 21, 20 personnel, 22 personnel in the red zone to try to get creative and like beat leverage and stuff like that. So what they're doing here is they're running a rub route, I think, with these 2 guys, but it's the same concept where we don't get screwed over by that. Yeah, exactly. So we see here they're trying to rub. He's really trying to go rub that guy to get him free at the pylon, which if we're playing man, that's gonna happen. That's what they're doing. Like, you can see he's going to pick him. He's running up to rub that guy so that they're both here. He's completely wide open at this pylon. Sprint out, easy pass, right? That's the clear play design for the offense, and that's great. It's a great play design when you're playing man and you're getting like man beaters. It's awesome. And for them, it's just unfortunate we're playing Tampa here because we pass this off perfectly. Our corner stays outside, he takes this one. Our safety takes this one. Our backside safety is taking this guy over the top, and it becomes a scramble drill. The ref right here falls down over the pylon marker, and we force an incompletion. And Keith does an excellent job right here of playing backside. So if this guy leaks out, he's staying backside. That's really good discipline by Keith right there. But like, this is a good play design. It's just it's not a Tampa beater. It's a man beater. So like, this is why I really like Tampa in the red zone and true zone in the red zone. And like, it's almost just like you're cutting the first inside breaking route. I know that like it can be taught like that, because like I call it Tampa, but like a lot of people run this concept and they call it something different and they kind of teach it a little bit differently. But like, for all intents and purposes, that's kind of what it is. You're cutting the first inside breaking route. It can be taught like palms, it can be taught like quarters, it can be taught like Tampa, it can be taught a whole bunch of different ways, but you're kind of all doing it the same way. You're getting to the same thing. It's just how you give it to the players, I guess. And like, how you're gonna handle 4 verticals can be an issue. Different ways you teach it. But like, a lot of teams run man in the red zone and do like pressure 0 is a big thing people do in the red zone. So like, these pick routes, if we were running pressure 0, this would be huge and they would win. But we're running Tampa, so they don't. What if they motioned away from the strong side? Have to imagine they know you like Tampa in the red zone. So why he didn't audible? Like, saying someone come back this way. I mean, like, even if they did, we'd still, like, we're still running Tampa to where it wouldn't necessarily matter. We still have numbers. Like, if they come back over this way, our corner's still in the flat, safety's here. Like, we still have numbers to where we shouldn't get out leveraged anywhere to the flat. I think is my favorite thing about Tampa in the red zone is these corners are playing in the flat. So like, a big concept for red zone offenses is a guy at the back pylon and a guy at the front pylon. And like, we should never get beat to the flat in Tampa, which is a reason that I stopped playing Madden a few years ago, because I called Tampa in the red zone and they ran like someone to the flat and the corner was inside, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not playing Madden anymore, because that defeats the purpose of playing this coverage. But long story short, even if they run it strong or weak, we should be able to not get out leveraged to the flat. Yeah, Madden's trash. I haven't had that issue yet with NCAA. I like NCAA gameplay so far. I haven't played a whole bunch, but it's been fun. All right, same call. So here is kind of what you're talking about. They're getting numbers to the weak side, and they're running spacing. And spacing, this can be a Tampa beater, because you see this guy, he's open right now. It's going to be a bang play, but if they throw this one in stride right here, that's probably a catch, and hopefully we get the tackle. But it's going to be close. And even up top, he can't throw this one because Bryce is sitting right here, which is good. But you have this guy going to the back pylon, and he's turning and running with that. And then we still have this guy as help. He caught the ball, but this is kind of what we're talking about. Use that back, the end line as a 12th defender. Push him out so he can't get his feet down. I would just say, Keith, don't lose this guy out here. He needs to go drive that. I would say for him, don't get boxed out. He should stay inside and underneath, to where now, like, if this is in the NFL and this is Travis Kelce and this is Mahomes, this will be a touchdown, because he'll throw it like right over here to where Travis Kelce is going to put his arms out and the defender's arms aren't going to be long enough to be behind him and still make the play, and the quarterback's going to be good enough to put that ball on the money. So that would be a touchdown. I would say stay inside and don't get boxed out. But he does a pretty good job being underneath this slant to where he can't throw that ball in right there. And if he waits a little bit, then Tez will be right there. So, like, is this guy open? He kind of looks open, but if you are looking at it, as he's running that slant, if he tries to throw that, Bryce is going to be right there. And then if he waits a window to right here, then Tez will make that play. So, like, yes, he looks in theory open, but he's not. He's in theory open, but he's not in function open. And by that time, we're getting pressure with Nas. He splits the double team. In college, he still wouldn't have caught it because his foot's on the line. It was a good catch, though. He held onto the ball. All right, here we're getting some run game action. He needs to take that guy out to the flat. He's here. We got two guys over here. He needs to expand with that guy. His fit is really off this guy. But they're running like a zone read here. They started reading our 5 technique. They were treating him like a 3 technique and kind of blocking out down. Someone messed up. Someone's got to go up to Ruben because he's unblocked. So it didn't work out very well for them. Someone messed up for them. But even still, if he goes up and blocks this guy, like, it's going to be tough for him to make that play. Make that block on a linebacker like that. Ooh, throwback. All right, so this is a good look at, like, when they sit down. Tez is a little bit late, like that step right there. If he takes a cleaner angle, it's close. It's a bang bang play. I think he could get there closer and make the pick if he cleaned up his angle. But that's really how we want that to look. Like, our field spacing is good. He's reacting to the ball. He could be underneath this guy. He's outside. He's chilling right here. Outside. Like, we're covered down. And we make the play. I think Tez could clean up his footwork just a little bit. But I mean, that's pretty damn close. He's got to come down with the football. It's hard to tell because the camera's moving at the same time. All right, let's see what we're looking at now. A good one down the bottom. Safety's driving the slant of 1. And that's the thing, too, is like a backside of 3x1. If you're playing man, then they can throw that slant in because this guy's not helping. He's over there to where that corner can get beat inside. Here, he doesn't have to worry about the slant. He can play heavy on that guy head up to outside and get a jam on him, knowing that if he runs a slant, he's going to get safety help. They're running like a control concept here. You can see the tight end push off on the nickel, which I'm not mad at. That's just football. Bryce does a really good job of, even though he gets pushed, relating to his coverage. Tez does a good job of being inside right here, and then he feels the quarterback look into the dig, so he comes off and stays underneath that one. Tarp obviously is on that route. He does a good job. Like, there's nowhere for the quarterback to go. And then our rush gets home, and we win. Boogie does a good job off jump right here. Defeating the hands, knocking the hands down. Olive, our 3 technique or our 5 technique, playing like a 3, does a good job right there too. Now the back has to block a defensive tackle. He gets blocked in the back clearly, but he's getting held, but we still win. All right, so now this is a good concept from them. They schemed us up, and this still shouldn't have been a touchdown. Like, hats off, because Magoo in this championship game, he played a hell of a game. But like we're covered down. This is a good concept though, because they're trying to run like a little follow, and him, like, we have it covered. Tez does a good job of getting there. Bryce is gonna push to this guy. He's in between 1 and 2, kind of how it looks, and he's outside. So like we're covered down. It just, that ball got placed in there somehow. And 85, Kane made a hell of a tackle, or a hell of a catch. And sometimes like they're gonna complete the ball. We're covered down, like we got everyone covered. It's just a great catch. We'll see it right here. It's kind of covered up, but that's good coverage. That ball gets, you can't really see it down here at the bottom of the screen, but that's a bang play right there. And I mean, shoot, I can't fault Tez. That's really good coverage. Like, the quarterback kind of forced it in there, and they make plays too sometimes. They get paid too. But it's a good concept. Like I said, I think we have it covered. Bryce would take this guy. Eli's right here, and he's out here. But shoot, I mean, that's a good throw and catch. Hats off to them. All right, so here's another one with the back out of the backfield. And we rep this one a lot, to where our corner is on the back. Here, it's a PBU, but like they're not going to complete this route. I think we ran a little bit differently. We wanted the nickel to expand maybe, but we have our corner right there with the back. To like, there's no way that this will be a touchdown if they get this ball to the back. Carlo does a good job of getting the ball, but like we have, oh shoot, my bad. We have 2 guys right there. All right, so now this is the last play on here. This is a very, very fun play. All right, this is the last play of the North Championship last year. This is a good scheme because they're running 3 strong back over weak. So really Tez has to take this one. Like, this is a really good scheme from Eric. It just doesn't hit because someone makes a great individual play. But like, they knew that we were going to be in Tampa, and this was a great scheme. It just, unfortunately for them, it didn't hit. But like we talked about, over here, especially in 3-by-1, if he gets an in-breaking route, he's going to drive that, and he's going to come off and play for something coming across. But there's a window right here. There is a window. Tez really needs to turn around with this guy. But they also do a really good job of getting the back out to get Tez's eyes, because he's open. Ruben kind of needs to stay inside there. Tez needs to be underneath this one. But Olive makes a spinning back fist, spinning backhand PBU. I don't know how he did that. That was wild. Watch Olive right here. This is just a great individual play. I don't know how he did this. Spinning back fist. But like you can see, this ball, I mean, unless Tark gets a PBU, which he might get a hand on it, how it looks. But I mean, shoot. He might could get a hand on that, but I don't know, man. Olive made a hell of a play right there. This was in double overtime to win the game to go to the championship game. That was a hell of a play. All right, so that's Tampa. That's how we're talking about 7 across, and all that stuff. So, I mean, hour stream, a little bit shorter because we didn't do a full install and everything like that. But that's kind of what we're talking about. How we're doing 7 across, and how we want to get those guys to kind of adjust to routes and adapt to routes. And like we're saying, it's really match oriented. Everything that we do is match oriented. We're not true zone players. The strong poach for us in that is like a true zone player. When we're talking about Bryce, our nickel, he plays a lot like a true zone guy, but everyone else has some sort of match kind of principles in their technique. And with all the pick routes that people do nowadays, I really like this coverage because you're always going to be leveraged on pick routes. Like, you can pass stuff off, and you can do that in man too. Like, and that's a big thing that people do in man coverage is work on passing off routes. But it can get difficult when motion gets involved and certain depths. Like, 2 guys can be on a guy, whereas this, it's built in. If it's an in-breaking route, someone's gonna like almost trap it. It's like reverse palms, if you will, if that makes sense. And the corner is always gonna be outside. So like, it's more built in here than it is in man. But like, if you run man well in the red zone like that, then it kind of works out the same way. It has the potential to work out the same way. Just how you teach it and how your guys understand it. But I don't know, the coverage worked for us. Obviously, we saw some good plays, and also the offense has to hit their plays too. Like, because like we said, there are weaknesses. There's going to be weaknesses in every coverage, in every call, in every defense. The offense has to find the weakness, and they have to not only find it, they have to execute and hit the weakness. So, I mean, you're not going to stop everything. You're going to try to stop as much as you can, but you're not going to be able to stop everything. And if you try to stop everything, then you're going to be banging your head against a wall and going crazy because you're not going to stop everything. But I mean, that's a good idea of Tampa red zone defense, however you want to call it, Colt, Tampa, whatever your scheme is called. It's a great defense, and just think of it like we're gonna trap inside breaking routes and always have someone outside, always have leverage on the offense, and we're still gonna be gap sound, because that's the first thing we want to do is be gap sound. Second thing we want to do is figure out how we're gonna cover 4 verticals, and after we do those two things, then we can go play ball. But that's really what I got today for red zone defense. Does anyone have any questions about anything related, unrelated, anything like that? I want to do a little bit of a NCAA stream. I saw that they're bringing up Team Builder, so we got to bring the Maulers back. Get the Maulers helmet right here. I got all the logos, so I think I want to do like a whole USFL conference, XFL conference, do a little team builder thing. I think that would be fun. Do some NCAA streams. And the other thing I want to kind of do is like, because I've seen people saying they're having trouble playing defense on NCAA. And like I said, I haven't played a whole bunch of games, but I've played a few. And like, I'm not struggling too bad on defense. Like, and I think if you just kind of, because I think the game works pretty well as far as like down and distance and like tendencies and all that. So like if you just kind of understand offense and you're not running like blitz zero in 1st and 10 all the time, and you're like running coverages that make sense and calls that make sense, like I don't think it's that crazy. But I don't know. I want to do some streams with that. I think that'd be fun. So we'll see where that takes us. I don't we're still gonna do our Tuesday and Thursday film and teach stream. Maybe that'll be like a weekend stream or like a late night stream or something like that. But I think that could be fun. Do a little bit of NCAA streams. But other than that, I appreciate everyone for stopping by. And if you're watching live, if you're watching on the VOD, if you're watching on YouTube, whatever it is, I appreciate you for watching and for being here and taking the time out of your day to watch and to learn, which is what we're trying to do. We're trying to teach and answer questions and just learn football and talk football, because right now it's kind of dead. There's no sports on other than baseball. Basketball's over. UFL's over. NFL hasn't started yet. College hasn't started yet. We got the Olympics coming up. Euros are done. Copa America's done. Olympics in a week, I think. So that'll be fun, but kind of a dead period in sports right now. So we'll keep doing the Tuesday, Thursday, teach stuff, and we'll maybe do a little bit more late nights and weekends. But other than that, I appreciate you guys all for showing up, and we'll see you on the next one.